Hey, it's Joel. This is the Ivy 3D printer, and I really want you to watch this video because no matter what I say, it just doesn't matter. There you are. Thanks for coming back. We're on a wide shot here of the Ivy 3D printer, and you can see my unfinished wall, which no doubt you'll tell me to fix, which I will. More importantly, we need to talk about this machine, what it means, and what's going to happen. I'm on a wide shot, like I said, because I want you to see how tall this thing is. I mean, you know where I stand, and this printer is up here. And then up above, there's even more stuff. That's filament at the top, and see, it stores it. That's fun. You know what, screw this. I'll tell you what, we're gonna zoom in a little bit closer because you don't need to see my unfinished wall, do you? Let's start at the beginning. Before CES, I received an email from Helen at Ivy 3D Printer asking if I could stop by their booth at CES because they really wanted to show me their machine. I said, I'll try to make it down. And they said, well, we've got a badge for you if you can. And great, it worked out. And in my little CES recap video, you probably saw some of the mention of the Ivy 3D printer and the prints they had made on the machine and how I said I was gonna get a closer look at it. Which I am right now.
Too close, a little too close.
The story from there is quite fantastic. I received a note from Helen saying that they could bring this printer to me for a few days up here in Seattle because they want me to get some experience with it and talk about it with you. I thought, well, that would be fine. I've got some free time after CES. Why don't you fly up and bring it to me? And they said, no, we're gonna rent a car and we're gonna drive it up to Seattle. What? Okay, sure, let's do that. Sure enough, Helen and Andy and Elvis, that's right, Elvis, they rented a car in Las Vegas and drove this printer and all of their booth supplies and everything with them up to Seattle. They're actually in a hotel right now while I'm talking about this machine. It was their first visit to Seattle. We got to go to Ivar's Salmon House and have a really tasty dinner. That was a lot of fun. They got to see the Seattle skyline at night. Everything was lit up. Yes, they saw the Space Needle, of course. But then the plan is, once I'm done here, they're gonna pack up the printer, drive it back to LA along with themselves, and then they're going to catch their flight back to Shenzhen. So now you know a little bit about the story of this machine, why I have it, why I'm talking about it. Let's talk about these models a little bit, and then finally at the very end, we're just gonna talk about why nothing I say here really matters at all. The printer was printing on the CES show floor, and I've had it printing here. I had it printing a couple models. So these are models that Ivy brings with them to shows to show it off. I think these are great examples of models that the machine can print. I got a Taco Bell notification on my phone, hold on. The printer itself, let's start at the bottom here. The bottom plate has, it's just plastic right now. It will have a heater element on it, but right now it's just plastic. It has a carbon fiber removable bed. I asked, how well does filament stick to carbon fiber? They said not the best, but until they have a heater for this, they have this goo that you can drip onto the plate, and you use this material, or this tool to scrape it off. Think of this as like a more viscous, opaque magic goo. I don't know exactly what it is, but I wouldn't drink it. The bed itself has magnets in it. It's a Delta 3D printer, meaning there are these arms that go up to these columns that have, well, this one has GT2 belts that then attach to motors, which make each arm go up and down, and it moves around like a spider. The head on the effector is a 0.3 millimeter nozzle. What they explained though is they're going for a very easily interchangeable nozzle system. So what you can do is pull up on this right here once the filament is out and eject, well, I guess nozzle plate, whatever we're calling it, and then insert a new one. They do have, in the box that's right by the camera, they have a 0.4 millimeter nozzle. And as they explained, the little circuit board on the nozzle uses pogo pins to attach to the effector and provide the power and the thermistor readings and whatever other unicorns they need on that thing. Missing on the effector is any sort of filament cooling fan. The original plan, as I talked to them, was to put a fan up here in the nether regions inside and have it blow and cool the entire area. but as I'm going to show you on these models, it's not enough. Up here, we've got a touch screen that isn't actually programmed to do anything at the moment. The internals are, it's kind of cool. It is running a Marlin-based firmware, and I say Marlin-based because they've done some things to it. They said the controller firmware is Marlin-based, and they've released the previous version at a GitHub address, and Andy, who's the developer on the team, said he had ported the firmware to STM32 MCU. That's kind of cool, and they are adhering to the open source license. They are going to be releasing it. Good job, IVI 3D printer. While the team was here setting up, the internals were exposed. I was able to shoot a little bit of that with my DJI Osmo Pocket. Nothing's final up in there. As they explained, they're using Highwind rails and they have a Raspberry Pi. But when they go to market, once the Kickstarter that they have is funded and they're doing production, they may move to something that's not a Raspberry Pi, or they may move to comparable rails that are cheaper. That's just how it goes, and that sort of lends itself to what I'm going to talk about here in a moment. So what did I get to do with this machine in the 24 effective hours that I had with it? I was able to print some things. Some things did not print very well. So this right here, this little group of stuff, this is the collection of my printing on the IVI 3D printer. Some things went incredibly well, like this this wavy bowl. This printed just great. It's a vase mode print, and it turned out great, as you would think. Also, Sir Layers a Lot right here. Sir Layers a Lot, I thought it looked good. But the team at IVI thought they could do a better job. And I mean, I agree. It's going to show some artifacts from not having any sort of filament cooling on the effector. But without that, I think it did a fine job. With a 0.3 nozzle, I'm running 0.15 layer height, and it looked good. I attempted to run a benchy at 0.2, and this looks good. Of course, it would look better with some sort of filament cooling on the effector. In fact, any of these models that you see right here are going to look better with filament cooling. In fact, their model that they bring to the show, when you look at some of the overhangs, yes, they would look better if they had filament cooling. I did have some failures in the models, and I will talk about those. This is 3D Phil, and this is the Matter Hackers astronaut mascot. He's top of the headless. That's unfortunate. I was attempting to do a print at 0.2. I thought it was looking okay, but then my wife came in and I wanted to show her something, because one of the things that this machine has is a closed loop system for the motors that run the print. Essentially, the arms connect up to the motors, or the belts that are attached to the motors, which then run back and forth. They're in a closed loop. So if you poke it, it should know to go back to where it is, because that's what happens. And unfortunately, I think there might be a little bit of an issue, because it came back and it knocked Phil off the build plate. Oops, it was unfortunate. I think that the closed loop system is a good idea, but I do think it has some issues to work out. This is another Phil I was trying to print. I knocked the head around quite a bit, which you'll see in the video. But it didn't return to the right spot. You can see a little bit of shifting at the beginning. You can see a giant bit of shifting right there where the nozzle thought it was supposed to be lower and dug into the print. That's unfortunate. For now, though, let's talk about this JoelBot, this half JoelBot, this art. That's the only thing I can call this. This is art right here. JoelBot was printing, but because there's no filament cooling fan on the effector, as it got up to this part right here, the filament started to cool up. And then the nozzle, as it was going around and hit that filament that was curling up, it stuck to the nozzle, and it just made the JoelBot legs dance. It was just dancing on the build platform. This is what I walk into. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I did stop that print. Printing is done via this laptop, this very specific laptop, and this Wi-Fi access point. Right now, IVI 3D printer is on an internetless network, and so it joins up to that SSID that broadcasts, and then this laptop joins up to that SSID. On this laptop, the server instance is running. It's been coded in Ruby on Rails. It does a good job. It's a minimal UI. I put my laptop, which I had here, on that Wi-Fi and connected to this server, and was able to upload my own models, such as the JoelBot and the surlayers a lot, and the 3D fill. And I was able to slice using their instance of Cura Engine and upload it to the printer to print. It's very, very beginnings. It's not even worth me showing you because it's just a development tool. It's an example of what they are doing to make sure their hardware works. It's a dev tool. It's just, that's how they're testing their machine. This is a prototype, so I mean, works. This is just a funny, crazy, wonderful, weird situation. IVI 3D printer by no means is a retail offering. There are 4 prototypes of this machine. That's it. This is the 4th prototype. Ta-da! It doesn't have any of the CNC milling or the SLA printing that they offer and talk about on the website. It doesn't have all of the sensors that they talk about. The touchscreen isn't running. The cloud-based software doesn't exist. The iPhone and Android client software is nowhere. But that's okay because this isn't a retail offering. This is a development machine. This is a startup company in Shenzhen trying to build a better 3D printer. They took it to CES to try to get some traction, and they wanted me to use it, but can I review this? I mean, I could, but what would be the point? You're never going to see this, ever. It might not even look like this. It won't contain the same parts. You'll never have to do what I did to get it working. I'm in this crazy, weird situation where I can't recommend something, and it's going to be going up on Kickstarter, which means that, I mean, all I have to do is say Obsidian, and everybody is going to be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Listen, here's where we're at. This young company from Shenzhen, run by 3 passionate people, I think is trying to achieve something noble. They're trying to achieve a well-built, honed 3D printing experience for the average casual user. Their goal is to make 3D printing accessible for everyone using their machine. The platform that they will launch on is Kickstarter. I shouldn't have to tell you that only invest in Kickstarters with money that you could light on fire and not miss. The $800 price tag for this machine through Kickstarter, I think, is a little low considering the components that they have inside and the components that they're advertising. I don't think that the $800 offering on Kickstarter can go to retail, can go to consumers without compromising on some of the components inside. Their initial offering of a $300 early bird special for Kickstarter is just absurd for what they're promising, and if they can deliver it, great. But again, it's Kickstarter. This is money that you should be able to give to someone, and then if you never see it again, you are okay with it. So why don't my words matter? Why is what I'm saying here just a no-op? Why does it not matter? It's because you'll never see this. What you end up getting from Kickstarter is going to be completely different from this. It's going to behave differently, and it's going to have a different user interface. I can't be pro or against this for you because it's not a finished product. This isn't something that you will see. What I can tell you though, and these words do matter, is I've talked at length with these people. I think they have an admirable goal. Do I think they can accomplish this task? I don't know. Do I think that they could successfully deliver on a Kickstarter? I don't know. I think that IVI 3D printer, or IVI 3D, is going to try their hardest to deliver. Here is something that happened at dinner the other night that really kind of gave me an idea of who they are, because I've done the same thing. I could tell that Andy was a little bit worried. He just had a worried look on his face. And I said, "You're worried about the print running at my house right now, aren't you?" And he said, yes, I am. I said, "Don't worry, I'll text my wife and she'll send over a picture of it." So she did. My wife texted a picture and said, "Here you go." And I showed Andy, and you could just tell this look of thankfulness had just washed over him. And he was very happy to see that this print was actually printing well. And I've done that. I've texted my wife when I worked at Adobe to say, "How is the print going?" And she would text me back with a picture of the print and say, "It's looking really good." And she'd take it from a different angles. And I would love that, because in my heart, I had this passion for wanting it to complete, wanting it to be good, wanting to be able to show you, my audience, something awesome. That's what I get from these people. So this isn't a printer review. This isn't a Kickstarter warning. This is just giving you an idea of what might be coming up. So if this interests you at all, I highly suggest you follow their campaign when it's live. I highly suggest you do your due diligence and research this. And if I hear anything more, I'll let you know. In the end, I hope you found this useful, and I hope it brightened your day, and I look forward to hearing your comments down below. Be awesome, hug each other more. I love you guys, as always. High five.